The recording has started.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the December 17th, 2025 meeting of the Livable Roadways Committee, our last meeting of the year. Thank you so much for what a wonderful in-person attendance. I really appreciate it. And so we will first, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance if you wouldn't mind standing with me. Thank you so much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we will go around and introduce ourselves and say how are you gonna get outside and move and do something different over this break time? I don't know. So we'll start with Tia and work our way around.
Tia Boyd, University of South Florida Research, and I actually bought myself some roller skates. So I've rollerbladed, but I'm not great on the skates, so I bought some to practice. That'll be what I'll be doing.
Awesome, very fun.
Hi, Jason Jackman, City of Tampa Mobility. I walk my dog twice a day instead of once a day, so like that.
Excellent. Your dog's gonna love you.
Yeah.
Caroline Seckham with the West Shore Alliance. I'll be up in Tallahassee for the holidays, so looking forward to biking kind of up there and seeing the streets.
Yeah.
Emily Hinsdale, and a member of my family is getting himself a new bike for Christmas, so we will be biking all over.
Nice.
He doesn't know yet, so don't tell him.
He's not tuned in. Catherine Will representing Urban Land Institute, and I'll be between Tampa and Sarasota. We're gonna paint and pressure wash the house. We also got new e-bikes to keep in the garage down there, so we're gonna ride to speed. And I'm gonna take my kids on rides to my elementary school, my middle school, to show them how far things were when I rode my bike as a kid. And they're so looking forward to that. And we might go to Georgia for a couple of days.
David Hay, Planning Commission staff, and my kids and I are going to the beach for walk on the beach.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
It's one.
Yeah, even if it's not, it's really, it's like,
I want the horn.
yeah, fair. Lynn Hertak, Tampa City Council, Kelly and I, my aide biked to work yesterday and it was awesome. And I get to bike home on Thursday because I got a flat. I was leaving. But yeah, I'll be doing a lot of biking and going up to Gainesville, doing some trails up there to visit when I visit my mom. So looking forward to it.
I'm Connor Trejos McDonald, TPO staff and your liaison to the Livable Roadways Committee. I'm going to be visiting my family in the Panhandle, it's like north of Destin, so maybe I'll be biking with my nephews.
Happy to always do. Hanging on the cigar, open the cigar, and drinking beer.
This is not healthy.
Yeah, but I'll leave you having fun. Yeah. He's gonna be having fun.
Karen Kress, good morning, representing Tampa Downtown Partnership. Sorry I'm late. I did bike it today, if that counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
To Ohio, if any of you've heard of that, there's not a whole lot of walking for the holidays, so.
It's very cold. Snowshoeing.
Yeah, but we don't get good snow in Cleveland either. So you just get gray and cold. That's why a lot of us live here.
Rebecca Hessinger, I represent Community and Infrastructure Planning for the county. I signed up to do the county's hiking spree, so I'm going to get started on that. If you guys don't know what that is, just Google it, and it's fun. It's fun. You can take your dog.
Nice.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Omar Pirzada, I represent Art at the LRC. And I'm staying local during the holidays, so we're gonna try to do some biking, do the Nellis Trail, and just bike around. So
Nice. Nice.
Good morning, Unica Mills, with Planning Commission staff.
representing the city of Plant City. I have a new weighted vest, so hopefully I'll get to use it walking around the neighborhoods over the
Love
holidays.
that. Very cool. Well, thank you all for coming. I'm excited about all sorts of things that we're going to be hearing today. I don't think there's any members of the public here today. I recognize most of these faces. So has everyone had a chance to look at the November 19th minutes? And if so, could I get either comments or a motion to approve? So moved. Second. Okay, so I have a motion from Karen and a second from Catherine. Any comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. And today we just have some status reports, but I think these are going to be really exciting. So Elizabeth, welcome.
Good morning, Elizabeth Watkins, TPO staff. I'm here this morning to solicit your input on a really important process that the TPO carries out every year. And that's the process of prioritizing transportation projects for a pot of federal funds. So I didn't bring enough for everybody, but there are a few of our last priority lists that I had at the table. Just, I think since we're going to be talking about process, I thought it might be helpful to look at what that end result is and how this is used as we walk through some of the points that I would really love your feedback on today. So I'm here to seek your input on some soul searching we've been doing on our prioritization process. When we brought this through committees and boards over the summer, we heard some feedback that, not that everything is wrong, but maybe there's a way to optimize the way that we identify projects and prioritize them. And the main piece of feedback we had is you'll see that we rank projects categorically. So the top 10 projects on our list, priorities 1 through 10, are all smart cities. And then from there, it's state of good repair. And then from there, vision 0. So very much like a categorical ranking. And some of the feedback we got, so that's a little bit confusing. Why are we doing it that way? So we're taking this 6-month pause that we have to brainstorm and then come speak with everyone. So we started in October.
The PowerPoint is not.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
There you go.
All right, here we are. So here's where we are in the process. So to date, we've reached out to all of our local governments in Hart, as they are the entities that submit projects to get on this list. We've talked with our peer MPOs, and then we've also done a deep dive into our current process. So we did that in October, and now we're here to talk with the different committees to get your input before we bring it to the board in January for their action. And I emphasize this slide because it's really fast and furious. We develop this list every year, so there's not a ton of time to spare. So yeah, so we're hoping that the board will take action in January, and then we can apply those recommendations when we come to you in late spring, early summer with the new priority list. So as we were talking to our partners, our stakeholders, there were 3 key areas that really jumped out to us. First is the process. How are we actually developing this list? How is our methodology? Could we tweak some things there? And then also our communication. So the first area of potential change is really focusing on project readiness. So currently there's about 72 projects on this list, and about half are actively in some phase of project development, whether it's preliminary engineering or right of way, or just waiting until construction funds are ready. But the other half are on this list mostly for just like community support. So just to give an example, all of the regional infrastructure accelerator projects are on here: downtown to airport, streetcar extension. bike network. All of those are on there to show support for the city if they were to go after those discretionary grants. So one of the challenges with that approach is there could be a perception that there are too many projects, or there are projects that are getting skipped over and not being funded because of those projects that are either not advanced enough for capital funding or on there really just to show community support. So this list is trying to do a lot of things. Primarily prioritize about $25 million a year in funds, show community support, and do those sorts of things. So it's doing a lot, and are we doing any of those things really well? So in response to that opportunity, staff is considering having a few factors to screen projects before they even get on this list. So is it actively seeking funding? Is there a complete application? Do we have a scope? Has there been at least some planning level feasibility study been done? And is there a recent cost estimate? Because of course that is so important. There are so many needs, but again, that pot of funding is only about $25 million per year, not only, but there's probably $1 billion worth of needs and only $25 million to address them. The next change that I'd love your feedback on is we're thinking about reformatting our priority list. So you'll see here we've tried historically to keep it very like simple, clean, not a lot of columns, but we're thinking we need more detail. We would love to have more information on there about where exactly this project is in development. What is that right-of-way estimate? And giving the community decision makers more information at their fingertips as these projects are being ranked, because say priority 2 isn't ready to go, but priority 10 is, the decision makers may want to fund priority 10 so that those funds are used. So here is an example of that, just hypothetical. So say our number 1 project, planning's been complete, there's money programmed for PE, but construction is unfunded. So that would be a candidate that is ready for that next phase. But an example that it wouldn't be is say priority 2, where we've got planning complete, maybe the locals are going to take care of PE, but we don't have a complete application on file for construction. So that one wouldn't be ready. So just having more information on that list to give a fuller picture of where projects are in the development cycle. Another potential area of improvement could be establishing universal scoring criteria. How we're developing our list right now is we're taking projects from our local partners and then we're putting them in our funding buckets, Vision Zero, State of Good Repair. And each of those buckets have their own evaluation criteria and therefore are just compared against each other. Many MPOs use a universal scoring criteria so that all projects are, that we assess them for benefits in other areas. Because it's very possible that there is a complete street project that's going to resurface the road, fix an intersection area, and add a sidewalk. So in nature, that project falls across 3 different buckets, right? With our current process, we kind of pigeonhole into one. So going towards universal scoring criteria can help more acknowledge those benefits. So this slide is just showing an example from Metro Plan of Orlando, how they establish their scoring criteria. One thing I think they do really interesting is they actually have a policy from their board on how they're going to allocate their funds. So 30% go to transit, 32% go to multimodal complete streets. So they have this criteria, but then they also have the policy direction on where those funds are going. And I think this could really help. I think this could help bring more transparency to how we're evaluating and proposing projects for funding. So here's just another example of if this were put into place, what it could look like. Instead of the current program or categorical list where you see smart cities, good repair, have this universal scoring criteria. It's possible that we could get projects from all the different buckets, but maybe the top of each category. So something to consider. in the future. Another thing that we are committed to doing is producing annual guidance for our applicants. Currently, we meet quarterly with all of our local governments in heart and try to give them the best information that's available. But we're thinking about formalizing that, updating our websites, and sharing as much information as we have on the programming process so that our local governments in heart are ready to compete for these funds. So just to recap, we want to consider adding project readiness scoring to really highlight those priorities that are ready for funds, thinking about reformatting, and then potentially moving those symbolic projects, those ones that aren't actively seeking funding, but maybe just need to be a reference for a grant application, maybe moving those to the bottom of the list. So that they're on there, but they are not getting confused with the projects that are actively competing for that $25 million. We're also thinking long-term on some things that we can do that are consistent with our long-range plan. That universal scoring is something we would need a little more time to chew on, that we wouldn't have ready to go for January, but we think it's the right direction to go in. And then to conduct annual TIP 101 workshops for implementing agencies within any interested partners. So here I am. I know I've shared a lot with you. To seek your input, again, is to go into the board in January for their action on those short-term recommendations, and then continue to refine these long-term ones. So I had a few specific questions, although I'm open to any input that you have on this process, but I really love your thoughts on these. So Chair, if it's okay with you, maybe if we could start generally and then go through these.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say thank you. This is a giant lift, and we've been talking about doing something like this. So I really appreciate it. And it's also very overwhelming. So does anyone have any questions or things they want to bring up immediately about this idea? So my first recommendation, excuse me, is if you go back a couple of slides to where you had all your rainbows. That. There you go. No, one more. No, I'm sorry, forward. Forward. Where you had the different, one more. There you go.
Yeah.
So when you talked about having multiples on the slide before, you talked about some things could, most of these touch other areas. And so for me personally, even if we were going to do the potential recommended list, which I think is a good idea, it would be neat if there was also like for this number one would be a smart cities project, but it's also a good repair and safety. So there would be like a little yellow dot and green dot in there to show that it falls across multiple categories. That would be my recommendation. So that you could see it. And yes, I mean, I love the idea that we're getting away from smart cities first, this, that, because that is one thing that the board and our CACs have said is confusing. So I do like that, but having that extra knowledge is very helpful, especially at a glance.
And that's a great suggestion, something that we can implement.
Yes, Rebecca.
So I agree with you. I think if we have a project that solves two problems, that it should kind of rank higher.
Yeah. Include that in the ranking. Yeah. A great idea. Karen.
Since everybody always says safety is our number one priority, could somehow that be called out and rise to the top as much as possible? Maybe they all get a beautiful color except the projects that aren't safety. Maybe, I don't know.
We can totally workshop that some more.
This is great work. Thank you for thinking through it.
Great. David?
I really like the policy that Orlando does about like dividing up the, because I do think it's important that if someone's looking at this list, they should see, is this like 10% of the overall, or is this like 0.5%, but we're actually solving the problem? Sometimes I think we gravitate toward the big, huge things instead of simple solutions. So that would be my suggestion.
Agreed. Catherine?
I also like how Metro Plan Orlando did it as well with the way, the policy they had dividing up the pie, which we've talked about for years. Can we get more than 1% of whatever, you know? Having that overriding policy, breaking it up more like that and say 20% to what we work on, whatever it is, there should be a bigger policy. I envisioned, not with the colors necessarily, I agree with you. I envisioned it almost like this, but then having that column saying it hits these 4 buckets, you know, because we've talked about that too. We know a complete streets project addresses safety. We know it addresses vision zero because everyone's designing those things with that mindset. So it should get credit for those. And the ones that hit more of them probably should go to the top of the list. Your first question on your discussion points. I do think that those other things should be on the list, but they should be in a separate bucket as maybe the future coming forward, the future concepts, ideas, whatever they are. So at least the public knows that, yes, there's other things that we're working on. These agencies are working on, we're not ignoring your thing. It's down here. It's just not denied. It's going in. It will be seeking the funding in the future. I think don't lose sight of that extra bucket.
I think it also helps direct funding in the
Yeah.
future. If you know,
Yeah.
these are the things, yes, these are the things that we can do. These are the things we can't because we don't have the funding. It can help create better ways to ask for that funding.
And we've also talked about pulling out to some degree, like big FDOT projects and keeping them separate somehow because we don't control that funding. That, I mean, and yes, they need to be on here to be funded to do all that, but that's not where our 25 million is going. So how do we pull those out to still say they're important? But because they have to be on this list, but that's not what we are focused and interested on because we don't have any input really. David?
I always am interested in, somehow letting the public decide what the priorities are, at least on some of the, like, here's, I don't know, you break the county up into sections and say, okay, this section, you vote either online or whatever, and you vote for your priority, and then actually like involve people. And it's, because I do think citizens feel like all these decisions are kind of made. I know they're all made in public meetings, but that they're not easily accessible. And I know I've read, God, 10 years ago, Los Angeles figured out a way to, not everything is approved by neighborhoods, but just a certain list, and then they go, and then the neighborhood actually has a little tiny pot of the overall money, and they get to pick what their priority is. So that would be interesting. It's probably much harder to do than it sounds, but yeah.
But I think for the future, for sure. Yes, Arizona.
No, I like the band. I like the Charlie. Everything. Also like Orlando. Orlando. The money that we're spending on new buses and the bank. One thing that we are spending the money correct. Now, in Orlando, they have new vans that what do they have the buses, they have the borders, like you know where you gotta get off and get on. Here in Tampa, they have all the problem with people spending money on vans that we are not gonna use. The highlight this ball for SUVs. Who's gonna use SUVs? You can't put a windshield on an SUV. You can't put a Walkman on an SUV. So why are we spending money on SUVs that we can't use? Who's gonna use?
Yeah.
That is a waste of our money that we just lost. Putting more new vans with this one. Everybody, as you get older, you get to walk. You can't put a walk in as you can't put a weekend in. So who's gonna be using those SUVs that we all bought?
Good question. Okay, Jason.
With the question here, universal scoring criteria, if it's
Well,
broken,
yeah, let's go one at a time.
okay, gotcha.
But does anybody have any more general? If not, we'll go ahead and start. Should projects be added to the priority list that are not ready for capital funding?
You said.
That's what I'm gonna give you that extra bucket.
Yeah, so extra bucket. So anybody else have any thoughts on the extra bucket? Do we like that idea? Do we want? Okay, should project readiness be an evaluation criteria? For me, I say not necessarily, because sometimes you have to put it on, but a separate column. I liked the column system you had before where you showed the extra ones about where you are maybe on the project readiness. Yeah, that one. I think because sometimes we're required to put it on this list, and that's the trick, is how do you, so. Oops. There we go. But yeah, so I mean, if it has to be on something like this that shows that you're ready for the next phase, I think it's reasonable. Anybody else have any thoughts on that one?
And Karen, maybe this isn't even mine, but kind of a little bit to David's point in getting neighborhoods feeling like, their government is doing something for them. Would that help smaller projects rise to the top too sometimes, as far as project readiness? Because obviously it's harder, it takes a lot longer to do big projects, right? But you can do little things.
It certainly could. It's not currently like in our evaluation criteria. Another challenge with these funds is they're not available this year. They're typically available 5 years out. So the councilwoman's point about maybe we shouldn't be so strict on that is really hitting with me today, because they're federal, because they have to go through DOT, the idea has to start somewhere, but typically the funds won't be ready for 5 years from now. But we could certainly consider that maybe in like a future update, like that participatory budgeting concept. I think we need some more time to think on it, but I definitely see where you're going.
Rebecca?
If you had a situation that you needed to solve a problem more immediately, could the local government or agency fund it and they get reimbursed down the line? Everybody's smiling. Has this been tried before?
Tampa, that's their strategy, and they're knocking it out of the park with getting federal funds. They'll typically fund preliminary engineering and right of way, and then come to the PPO for construction. So that's been one way where they're putting in local money and then matching it with those federal dollars.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. Sorry, you're doing a lot of movement. Okay, then universal scoring criteria be used to evaluate all projects. This is the one I was a little confused by. I don't know about anybody else. Jason?
Yeah, I feel like if we're breaking down into different categories, maybe just, again, have scoring for each category and then maybe reevaluating each time to look at that scoring and how it measured up to the previous funding opportunity. So, yeah, I think it shouldn't be universal. It should be per category, but not universal overall.
Does anybody do it universally?
I would say the majority do it universally.
Oh.
Again, there's no right way to do this. I think the benefits of our current process where we have specific criteria for the specific buckets, or that we're really assessing where the greatest need is. So if it's a safety project, our primary evaluation criteria are where are the highest crash rates and serious injuries and fatalities. So that whatever projects are submitted, the ones that are most immediately addressing a need go to the top. But the vast majority of MPOs in my research would evaluate all projects for safety or like a reliability or congestion metric. They wouldn't compete as well, like a bike pit project wouldn't compete as well if, let me just go to an example.
Tia? Oh, well, yeah.
While she's, I just have this, the current scoring system use weight
Yes.
But by category.
Yeah, and this, okay.
Yeah.
Would the proposed universal system still include?
Well, we just wanted to see if there was interest. We actually haven't developed any universal criteria. So we're just kind of testing the waters if this is something that you and the board think that we should explore.
So this is the example.
This, yeah, it doesn't have a ton of detail here, but like all projects for Metro Plan like have safety and security metrics, reliability and performance. Rather than just
Safety.
See, I think that's good. personally.
Yeah, I do kind of like this.
I think we miss a lot when we only put it in this bucket. Like I said earlier, you're doing a complete streets project. Great, it's complete streets. That's all you get credit for. Well, wait a minute. It does all these other things. And I think we're missing the point of that, quite frankly.
David?
Just devil's advocate would, and I'm not a transportation planner, so educate me. If we're looking at a project that we'll say is putting sidewalks or something on a road, or on the same road, we're looking at widening it, would the scoring be higher for the widening just because of the throughput of like moving people? Versus, oh, we count like 20 people an hour using the sidewalk and the crosswalk and the pedestrian facility. Would that then weight the widening of the road as a higher priority than like finishing the sidewalk network? I know that's a really.
it could, but I think there's ways to control for that. So if you evaluate all projects by all criteria, whether it's safety, congestion reduction, connectivity. Yeah, a widening project will perform differently than a sidewalk, but I think if you had it paired with like this allocation policy or a different weights depending on the project type, you could definitely control for that. So that
Maybe that's where we factor back in Karen's point of safety being top.
Yeah.
Maybe we do universal criteria, but in the end, if we know safety's it, there's an extra weight for projects that, oh, this solves serious high crash problem in a particular area.
That's something this group just talked about over and
Yeah,
over again, is
yeah,
that we always want safety to be the
Yeah.
top criteria.
Omar?
Yes, I guess my question would, if we move to like universal criteria, I'm just thinking like in regards to transit projects, like a lot of times I feel like some of the transit projects that Hart puts forward, like they might have a harder time falling into different categories, like, I mean, all of them are important, but like if we're requesting like bus stop improvements or new buses or anything, like I think it gets a little bit more like wishy-washy put in the safety category, so I'm kind of worried that like the transit projects might get watered down and might not be seen as higher priorities if they don't meet the other criteria as well. So just from that perspective, it's, that's maybe one drawback.
And I think one thing, if it's the will of the committees and the board to explore this, maybe we could do some scenario planning with it and say, okay, based on our past priorities and this new criteria, how would the list be different?
Well, I mean, I anticipate this being a multi-year project. I don't think we're gonna get it in one fell swoop. But I really appreciate, that's why we have all of these people in this room to bring light to all the different things. So thank you for that. Would we like to see more detail on the priority list? I think we kind of answered, I mean, I said, I think it would be helpful, like what you showed was very useful, but again, and I'm just a former elementary school teacher, very visual, very color oriented. I like the colors. And if we could just even if you could do a sliding scale of this is, that's the bar is 100% and it reaches 50% for safety. And I mean, so you can kind of gauge how many things it touches. But I would also argue that transit, if you're adding a new bus shelter facility, it is a safety issue. It does cover more things. And maybe you're right, we can weight them differently for projects like that. But I think it would be great to be able to see visually how it touches all of them. Anybody else? Yeah, Carolyn, sorry.
I'll definitely second the visual appeal of looking at these lists at a glance, kind of being able to dissect all the information and highlighting all the different buckets of the categories that the project hits. But another kind of detail I think would be interesting is like the funding mechanisms. and how these projects will be put together in the future, kind of timeline or by agency or grant.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I did like the one that you had on there that showed the one table backwards a little bit that showed unfunded at the end and you wrote a pick. Cause then you could see it's not within planning. Did they just start drawing it out or are they almost done? Oh no, it's actually done. You know, whether it's a complete application or not, you know, that they've ticked those boxes. Cause I think in the end, cause it is such a small pot of money, it kind of gets back to this conversation of if we constantly only prioritize certain things that are totally ready to go, project ready, just let's go. I think we're always fixing a problem and never actually getting ahead, which is hard with only 25 million. We need billions. But there might be that project that meets a community need, you know, and it's a safety project and has some crash stuff, but not as much as this one up here, but it probably should be brought up too. I don't know. There's gotta be a way to figure that out. It definitely has to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that this could be a legal size with like no problem. That wouldn't bother me. And then this is just semantics, but like the lead agency, I think we could just write FDOT instead of using these logos, because logos are big. So if you just put City of Tampa, if you just put, I think you'd be able to shrink the size of that column to really. And honestly, that's less important to me than all the other things. I don't know. Anyone else about detail?
I would say me reading this, if just a regular person were to look at this, I would say this is number one, right? And it's ranked. Keep going. So you get to number 11, hard heavy maintenance facility. It's under good state of repair, but it's number 11 on the list, so it's not gonna get money. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if I just look at it, because even within the category, it's number 10, it's not number one of that category, just what number one of every category get money?
Yeah.
If I just were to look at this and not really understand the.
I think that's a great idea, and something like very simple that we do visually, because typically the funds run out by priority like 14 or 15. So you have just like a whole line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why if we were to combine them, instead of divide them out, smart cities, real choices, it really enables everyone, but especially the public, to see what actually gets funded. And honestly, that's an advocacy tool that once the general public understands it, they can rally around it a bit more. And I believe strongly in like public engagement in every part of government. And if you make it easier, they'll get involved. Anybody else on the detail? And then last but not least, distinguish between symbolic prioritization and TPO funding requests. We did talk about that a little bit, about trying to pull the FDOT stuff separately. And I know I talked to Dr. Wong about this quite a while ago too, about how does the public get to see what they actually have an input on? Because we don't even have an input really on the FDOT projects, for better or worse.
I think the people that buy the bus, they could be when going when they don't have to. When they got it out one, they get on big and the way to go. A lot of people can't. I think that was a good deal. Putting out one fee to get on Charlie, to get going. People that come from out of town get to get on the bus and know I was thinking, we'll have to get it out and then learn about camping. So it's good.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Anything else? I look forward to the next iteration. I'm just like, y'all have a really big task ahead of you. I do not envy it, but I know that you all come up with so what is the timeline? I mean, I noticed that you said you're bringing it to the board in January, but Is it gonna be similar to this? Just a discussion?
No. So, I'm gonna be changing the slides so that specific short-term recommendations that can be accomplished, and you all gave me even more great ideas. And then ask for the board support on that, and then tease some of those longer-term things like the universal criteria, so that we can keep those things in mind for longer term and with the development of the LRTP.
So yes, a phased approach. Okay. Makes a lot of sense and appreciate you doing that instead of just trying to cram it all in. Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have some City of Tampa folks from our CRA. Very excited. Bryce, good to see you.
Yes, good to see you as well. So good morning, everybody.
And we also have Courtney Orr.
Yes, we also have Courtney Moore. She is the development manager for the downtown Central Park, Tampa Heights. Is that it? What the district?
Park, Channel District. downtown.
Yeah,
Yes,
Channel
Channel
two.
District. Can't forget about Channel. So all of the urban board CRAs. So. Okay, perfect. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bryce Beringer. I'm an urban planner with the Tampa CRA. A couple of months ago, actually almost a year ago, really, Connor had gotten in touch with us as we were in the midst of updating some of our community redevelopment plans for our CRA districts. Just to kind of give everyone a little CRA one-on-one lesson. Tampa has the most community redevelopment areas out of any jurisdiction in the state. And each one is required to have a community redevelopment plan. So think of that as like a mini comprehensive plan for all the different projects and initiatives that you want to accomplish in your CRA to remedy slum and blight. That's essentially what each plan serves to do. So with these rounds of updates, it was actually the first update for each one of these plans in quite some time. Tampa Heights had not been updated since 1999. Central Park, it was the first update since 2006. And for the downtown CRA, this was the first update since 1988. So the Florida Redevelopment Association, they do recommend that the plans are updated every 5 years or so. So we were just off of that recommendation by a couple of years. And you'll probably be seeing more of these types of updates come to this committee in the next couple of years or so. Because as it turns out, there are a number of our CRPs that are due for updates as well. So, yeah, go ahead.
To level set people, CRAs focus only on slum and blight and affordable housing, mainly infrastructure. And that's why it's important to this committee. It's infrastructure work that can be done.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we all know that Tampa has changed a lot, even just over the past 5 years, and especially since 1988 as well. So all the more reason why it's important. This is a chart that shows the sunset date for each one of the community redevelopment areas. Obviously, the highlighted ones are the ones that we're here to talk about today. So given that we have, a number of years for each one, we could potentially revisit each plan and update it accordingly, if needed within the next, 5 to 10 years. Central Park is the one that updates or that sunsets the soonest. So we have a little bit more of a limited time frame for that district. But yeah, this is just kind of to provide an overview of kind of where we're at with all the districts. I'll start off with the downtown community redevelopment plan. Some of the existing transportation conditions. This is interesting because downtown definitely has more different types of multimodal options than the other districts. You'll notice that there is an increased usage of biking, passenger carpool. Obviously, private vehicle usage is still the highest percentage, mostly just because you have people, commuting in and out of town. And then here we go. This is what I was thinking of. So walking and bike usage is 9% higher than some of the other areas of the city. That's mostly due to the green spine that goes through downtown, which is a wonderful amenity. It's probably what you took to get here today, Karen. So yeah, you do have a lot of different options in terms of what's currently existing out there. This is a crash map of the downtown Tampa CRA. You'll notice that there was a 40% increase between 2020 and 2021, mostly because that was when COVID restrictions lifted. This is obviously something that really takes the priority just in terms of, different safety improvements that can be implemented. Especially when you look at the area around Kennedy Boulevard, and actually in Tampa Street. This is the high injury network street, graph. I won't spend too much time on this one. It is interesting that, these networks do compose of 11% of the access roadways in the downtown CRA. Goal 1 mostly talks about reestablishing the grid network in the downtown CRA. You have a lot of opportunities for that under the Selman, and then also expanding different walkway and biking options in downtown. Obviously, the Riverwalk plays a major role in that. Goal 2 mostly talks about different multimodal infrastructure options, and then just filling any gaps where there may be a need for that. And then goal 3 mostly talks about just implementing different safety measures. One thing that I will add, one of the ways that we're currently helping meet this goal is with a wayfinding project for all of the urban core CRAs. We're currently working with the downtown partnership on that, and these images are just a couple of different options that we're actually currently working on. So that is an exciting project that we've already been able to get a start on. So in terms of different streetscape opportunity areas, downtown has a number of them. And this is what that map shows. So essentially the approach with this is that, if you build it, they will come. If we're looking to improve whatever streetscape or infrastructure, is currently in need of significant improvements, we're hoping that that will lead to obviously result in transit-oriented development. Next is the Tampa Heights Riverfront
Can we
CRA. Yes.
stop at that one and see if anybody has like any thoughts on this one? For me, the big one is Scott Street. And I kind of want to talk to you, Karen, offline about this, because I've been thinking about how to connect people, bike and ped to, I never remember the name of that. Harry Harvey Park, and how Harry Harvey really acts as a wall.
Yes, and Orange Street acts as
Yeah,
a wall.
it's a big wall. So how do we get people to be able to move through and to that area? So that I'm really interested that you focused on that, because that needs to be the next high priority in North Downtown.
Absolutely, and I was just about to mention downtown vision action plan, which we at city planning and partnership had a couple of meetings on at this point. As that north section of downtown continues to develop, that's going to be even more important, because you're going to hopefully have more pedestrian access going into yours.
Harrison's a small street, but it's the one that goes dead middle of the park.
Yeah.
It goes straight into the park. It's got the longshoreman and it's got the city park facility, the Cape, now what's it called? They run a program there.
Yeah, it's
program.
Kid Mason.
Kid Mason.
And they
There's
just
a lot of
renovated that.
children there. There's a lot of
Yes.
people that come there.
Yes.
And it
that
goes directly through the middle of the park into Encore.
And
So
it's too big. It's a very wide
It's very
street.
wide,
So
and it connects all the way through back to Florida, so
Yes.
it would seem like there should be something better.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and even I've driven past, that part whenever they're having festivals. And again, once you're past that wall, it's an amazing place for
Yep.
people to gather and spend time. But it's like, if anybody is actually trying to get into downtown by foot, it is really dangerous trying to cross Orange Street and some of the other thoroughfares. So
exactly, Karen.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, and Bryce alluded to it, we are working with mobility right now on the recommendations in our North End Vision Plan.
Okay.
And it talks about all this stuff kind of at bikes.
Omar?
Yeah, and I want to plug Marion Street as well. So
Yeah.
the main thoroughfare to Marion Transit Center,
Yeah.
which is the largest park transit center in the
Yes.
system. And sometimes we hear rider complaints and just general complaints of people who the walk from kind of downtown forward to Marion Transit Center can be a bit
It's not
sketchy
safe.
and
Yeah.
not very safe. And I
Absolutely.
think that, through like better like streetscaping, and I think just activating the corridor belt a bit more, it can provide a lot more opportunity for like more on-street connections, not just at the transit center, but like to make people feel safer, yes, traveling between downtown and Marion. Yes, absolutely. David, go ahead.
I had a question. Are trees considered infrastructure by the
Yes.
CRA? That money could be used by this?
They are by the urban forest management plan of the city.
Yes, but I don't know state
I-
law wise.
Yes, I don't think, David, we would be able to pay directly to have trees planted. However, if you're doing it through a streetscape project, for example, that would be the avenue that the CRA would be able to take.
That, and we have a very serious tree trust fund that we could use for
Mhm.
that.
You know my love for trees, but I've noticed lately in downtown, like Rampello, someone went through and clear cut all the trees that are the crepe myrtles. So, and I don't know if it's gonna, there's one tree well that I think's been there 20 years that has never had a tree in it. So,
We could have a long discussion about
Yeah.
trees.
Yes,
Yes,
because,
the only other thing I was gonna say,
Yeah.
really quick on the wayfinding, love it. Big signs up tall, you can see them. Please don't cut the canopies of trees because of visibility.
Yeah.
Be very careful of where you place those signs, because sometimes people just go out and put up signs, and they're right next to a tree, and that's the tree's gone.
absolutely.
And that's just horrible.
Yes, no, I agree.
Well, and I do want to say, to Omar's point, as an urban cyclist, basically the number one way I get downtown now is Morgan. It's a phenomenal bikeway. If you are a cyclist and you haven't been on Morgan, like Karen, go out, try that way home. It is phenomenal. It is, so I'm really bullish on Morgan right now.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of the, things that we're talking about right now, especially as it relates to Scott Street and that area on the northern side of the district. One of the things that one of the most common critiques that, the downtown CRA gets specifically is that there's no more Islamic light left. This is a prime example of an area of downtown that not only kind of proves that that's not the case, but again, really amplifies the need for a lot of these different redevelopment initiatives. I'm glad that you brought up Scott Street because you'll see that specifically mentioned in the Central Park plan as well. Are there any more questions about the downtown district?
Thank you.
Get started on Tampa Heights. So as far as existing conditions go, this has probably been one of the more transformational CRAs in Tampa, just over the past decade. This image on the top is from 2015, and then this one on the bottom is from 2025. You'll notice that there's a completely new street grid network that was installed as part of the 2017 capital improvements plan. And that was the project that brought roundabouts, sidewalk, lighting, a lot of the components that you see walking around Armature Works and along the sidewalks were brought forth by that project. In terms of pedestrian and cycle access points, there's 4 points from the north and then between 4 and 6 from the east, depending on if you're counting them as pedestrian or cyclist access points. And then you obviously have pedestrian access from the south along the Riverwalk as well. This district has a lot of really unique multimodal transit opportunities just because it's located directly on the river. You have boat slips, water taxi stations, floating dock, and then the event dock, obviously extending into the Hillsborough River as well. And those were completed back in 2020. The map on the right is both an existing conditions map along with the proposed streetcar extension. There is, I guess, the most major roadway and the one that, this committee is probably a lot more focused on just from a safety perspective is Tampa Street. That one serves, sorry, that roadway is the easternmost boundary of the CRA district, which is outlined in red. I don't know if you guys can actually see that or not. But the plan also does talk about some of the other thoroughfares that are just outside of the district. The CRA, for example, if we were looking to bring changes to Franklin Street or North Florida Avenue, north of Scott Street and 275, we wouldn't actually be able to pay for them. We would only be able to do things within the district. But it's still worth considering when you're considering the whole street grid network throughout the area.
Parking is also a key consideration, especially for the Tampa Heights district, as it continues to develop and grow. I don't know if this first have you've gotten feedback about this particular issue within Tampa Heights, but especially when, this district continues to grow, you obviously have a lot more mixed use coming in. If the CRA was looking for potential options, or if they, needed us to go in and explore different parking programs and remedies, that is an example of a project that the CRA would pay for. We actually did something similar at West Tampa CRA a couple of years back. We implemented a parking study, and we've actually been looking to that study to implement a lot of different remedies and projects throughout that district as well. So it's a good example of what we could potentially do for this district.
What I can tell you is that when they implemented the pay, on-street pay, people had some issues with it, but we were able to solve that with the business parking program that we use elsewhere. So I think,
Not in the CRA, though, that's Franklin Street. right?
yeah. Oh, you're right. That was
Yeah.
on Franklin, but by and large, I do think that you're right. It's something that needs to be looked at in the future, especially people who live north of the CRA. That's the issue. It's not the CRA
Yes.
itself. Generally, it's people who live up and can't have friends over, can't. So it is a bit of a struggle still, and I think it's still something that needs to be considered.
I just put in a plug for shared parking, if we're ever gonna study parking in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's. Right, it's a little bit of a tangent.
No.
Okay,
Take-
just it'll be quick though. So
Yes,
on
take
on the
it.
council agenda tomorrow, on the corner of Tampa and Henderson is the library lot.
Yes, we have talked, we are talking about that. Tampa Heights is ready to move on doing something different. So just so you know, that library, it is where the library admin headquarters are right now, and they're getting a 3-year extension so that they can build now that they have, once they have the extension, they'll be able to start building the new facility, which won't be in the city of Tampa. And so we will get that back in 3 years max.
But in the meantime, that surface parking lot is only for library use. There's
Yep.
about 3 cars in it all day
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, and
It's a waste.
no, that's actually a really good point, and that's the one thing I didn't talk about, so I will
I can
reach
email you
out.
some more information.
I'll talk to Fed about it, yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, this is what this presentation is for, so.
Well, and this is kind of what we're supposed to do already.
Yes, exactly. So in terms of future mobility plans for Tampa Heights, this plan puts a special emphasis on pedestrian and cyclist safety and amenities. Obviously, Tampa Heights is a little bit smaller than some of the other districts. It's already very pedestrian heavy in terms of foot traffic. You obviously have the river walk that, extends through. One of the more unique proposals in this plan is for a potential pedestrian bridge over the river. One thing that I will add, and this is just a general rule of thumb for CRPs in general, if community priorities change over time, just because it is written into your plan does not mean that you are required to do it. So if there wasn't an appetite to build, that type of bridge or that type of infrastructure, obviously we wouldn't be required to do it, but it is a unique idea that was written. So, and then also just in terms of enhancing some of the other access points into this CRA, the plan also talks about enhancing those connections along Ross Avenue, which is, let me go back to a boundary map. Right here, it's the most northernmost boundary, North Boulevard, and then obviously Highland as well.
I do have a question
Mhm.
about that roundabout.
Yes.
The roundabout on Boulevard.
Mhm.
Is the roundabout in the boundary?
It is, I believe it's.
A
split.
portion. So the portion I have a problem with is in the boundary. So
Okay,
I've never known a roundabout with a slip lane. It's confusing. We have got to get rid of that.
yes.
And whatever the CRA can do, to fix that, because it's mind boggling for transportation people, but it's also incredibly dangerous.
Yes.
He was
it
actually
is.
made to design it that way.
What's that?
He was made to design it that way. Yeah, it was made to be designed that way, but the city made it do it that way.
Yeah, but I'm thinking now though,
Yeah,
that we can redesign it,
yeah,
and, you know, hopefully use some CRA
yes,
funds to do that. It is just so dangerous.
Yeah. absolutely.
Yes.
We're on the slide. I know currently when I go up there, and of course I'm driving like everyone else, I'm usually in a very big backup on, what's this?
On Boulevard.
Boulevard?
On the east-west.
Oh, Rock Hall?
Is it right where it hits and then usually this roundabout gets backed up, which then people. I'm not for widening roads. I don't think this is appropriate there, but the question that I like. Right now, I always say up there, it's like the state fair experience because half the lots are grass parking, you know. When all those are filled. And knowing how Tampa is, everyone should drive everywhere, seems to be people's thoughts. I don't know how it's gonna function if all those buildings in those state fair parking lots are, you know, encouraging people to, hey, we got a parking garage. Come right to the building. I just don't see how that's gonna work.
We'll wait till he builds the other side.
Well, I know, and I'm wondering like, why it's taking so long, because it's been a state fair parking lot for like 15 years, and is that part of the issue is, you know, I don't know, it's just, if it's backing up now, I can only imagine that hopefully the streetcar will help. It's a needed kind of improvement, but
Yeah. I was just about to speak to the streetcar specifically, but again, even with that, you know, you'll have another means of access to and from the downtown area from Tampa Heights. But anything beyond that, anything from the north, west, or east, you know, it is difficult. So yes, all good discussion points.
another pedestrian bridge.
Yes, it's a good idea. And David, this slide actually kind of draws to that point, you know, once this plan development comes in, the CRA and the city, you know, we really are gonna have to take a look in terms of what we're able to do with the parking within this district. I think it's
Charge
Let me
20 bucks an hour and 30 bucks an hour and.
yeah.
We are increasing the fees, I want to say yearly at this point.
That might help discourage people get on streetcars.
It also would help, they have to pay for parking in other areas of the city.
Yeah.
Just in the
Yes.
Dallas area.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I'll add for by the skis. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry about that. So one thing that I will add, this is kind of just another side point, but an important one with Tampa Heights is that 74% of the TIF revenues go to the Tampa Heights Community Development District. So essentially, all of this really strong, great policy language is still going to be required for them to adhere to implement. It's just kind of another step in terms of the funding mechanism and how development is actually funded. So obviously, like David, you were alluding to, you have all of this amazing, you know, wonderful plan development within Tampa Heights. Again, that's going to increase more of a need for the discussion just in terms of how people are actually getting to the district. And especially as that pertains to car usage. And then this is just the general policy recommendation slide that is included in the plan itself. If you guys are looking to review any of these plans, they are under the documents tab under each individual CRA website on the CRA's website. So that's where you can go to review them if you'd like, or you can email me.
I would take out the USB drive.
I can take it out, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, last but not least, we have the Central Park CRA plan as well. So again, this is the existing conditions slide for the Central Park CRA. One thing that I'll add is the Nebraska Avenue. It is identified as a state arterial roadway for the functional classification. This district is unique because you have it situated in a perfect spot between downtown and Ybor. So a lot of the policy recommendations speak to enhancing those connections between the districts. Obviously, you want connections within Central Park as well. It is the area that is outlined in red on this map. So you have this portion right here, the Encore development, and then the future and somewhat current site of Gasworks as well. One other really unique and, in my opinion, advantageous quality of this CRA district is that it's also located directly next to Tampa Union Station. So the station itself, yes, is located within the downtown CRA, but in terms of planning, especially pedestrian connections to and from the station, we obviously are focused mostly on that intersection between Nucio and Nebraska Ave. Again, these are just some of the different options that folks have. You have HART, the Metro bus service, the Tico streetcar is nearby. One thing that I'll add is that the Gasworks development is constructing a new streetcar stop within this district. So that's obviously very beneficial as well. This is a picture of Ray Charles Boulevard. It really sets the gold standard in terms of complete streets and providing public access and gathering space for folks. Essentially, what we want to do is take this type of development and expand it throughout the CRA, and obviously within some of the other districts as well. So this is just a really good example of what that actually looks like once it's implemented. Some of the connectivity problems identified for this district mostly pertain to the edge conditions. Again, when you're trying to go from either downtown, like we were talking about at the beginning of this meeting, or even when you're trying to cross over into the Ybor district. Again, there's a very heavy emphasis on pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. And then this plan also talks about the limited wayfinding connections as well, which is another thing that we're currently working on. So Councilwoman Hurtak had brought up Scott Street specifically as an example. This is a snippet of Scott Street looking west. And if you were to continue on this roadway, even though it turns into a one-way the other direction at one point, that eventually turns into, is Scott Street the boundary of the downtown district, or is it 275? 275. So still right along the boundary of the CRA. And again, that's a really key connection when you're looking at that northern portion of downtown and obviously Central Park as well, just in terms of making sure that we're creating safe and well-defined pedestrian connections.
It works for pedestrians, but for cyclists, it is a brick street.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
Yes. So, which if we, let's see here, that tree is amazing and we wouldn't want to move it. But in terms of, potential enhancements in this area, I'm of the opinion that, we're able to find some type of median between, maintaining the historic nature of the streets, and then also adding new amenities like bike lane as well, if you're looking to do that. So with the multi-district wayfinding project, this is a snippet of what we currently have drafted for the Central Park CRA. Again, the plan speaks to creating more of a defined feel for the district. Obviously, Central Park doesn't really have any type of wayfinding signage right now. And just given the fact that it's located in such a pivotal area of the city, that's very important for us to make sure that we're implementing. And then this is an existing conditions map of some of the bike and trail space in and around the Central Park CRA. Really the only formalized trail, it goes under the Selman right here. And then you do have bicycle access up and down Nebraska and then along a Nucio Parkway as well. So the plan speaks to expanding and enhancing this network.
Well, Central Avenue is really the best bike network section that goes under I-4 right now, which is closed, and it's cutting that part of the city off really from people pretty drastically. Can't wait till that reopens.
Yes.
But the other thing that is a real issue here is parking. So as, as Karen mentioned in Tampa Heights, we're seeing that sort of the same thing where people are parking along the streets in areas they shouldn't be parking. So maybe I need to talk to Ben about that, but yeah, what do we do? How do we get people here?
Yes, well, and now that I'm thinking about it, just off the top of my head, the only type of formalized on-street parking that you have in this district is in and around the Encore. And that's really it.
Yep.
At this point.
And it's
So,
free.
yes, and it's
So-
free for now, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if any of you have been by there recently in the Nebraska and Utah area. The Patel project that is going up is, you cannot miss it.
Yes.
And so we're gonna have a lot more people there. They do have a parking garage, but just like how that changes, because they have multiple projects going on, but I don't know how. I mean, it popped up overnight.
Yes, it did, the Patel project, and then also, the completed apartment buildings.
Yes.
Or the gasworks development as well.
Yeah.
So this portion, try to outline it on the map, so it's this segment of the Central Park CRA district is right here. And this portion is actually mostly complete. I know that they have tenants who are already living in some of these apartment buildings. Again, the plan speaks to increasing and enhancing that transit-oriented development. So again, as you have more and more people coming into this district to live and also to work, that's going to increase the need for different transit options. So we obviously want to enhance those and encourage them as much as possible. So these two segments right here that connect to Nucio, on this slide, this is actually an older picture because this plan was actually written throughout the duration of 2023. And then we were able to formally adopt it this past summer. These segments right here, where you can see my cursor, those are already completed. So even just in between the time that this plan was drafted to now, this entire area has already changed very significantly, which is good. So. And then again, you have the general policy recommendation slide as part of this plan as well. And that concludes this presentation. So if any of you have questions or items of discussion, start with me.
I had a question, and I know it's probably right outside your boundaries, the wonderful suburban GT building, it's we were around when they, remember that?
Becca gave that to him for $1. I did the rezoning and I said it was a urban, I said it was a fortress-like development in my report. I did the rezoning,
Yeah.
and my director made me change it.
And I froze here, I remember we had concerns, it was a wonderful grid there that the city just all gave up, but it's different now, but
Yes.
I mean, it's part of a bigger conversation. Right now, the city of Tampa rents a majority of that building.
It's the EOC.
Yeah, it's the EOC.
For everything.
It's a lot of different things. So, there is, I'm afraid we gave it away for $1 and might be getting it back for many, many millions. So we will see how that.
Yeah.
is there any discussion of that eventually going away?
So not that I'm aware of, it is not within the CRA district. So there's only so much that we as an agency can do. Have you heard any discussion about that? Right, where-
Well, I mean, it's a really good building. You guys open it up and recreate the brick.
Just that I was questioned if it was in Central Park CRA, and if I think it was 2006, Pam Iorio, mayor at the time, allowed them to be excluded from Central Park CRA.
Yeah, so, but right here, they're building a apartment complex and actually are reconnecting this grid right here. Now, there's an apartment complex here where it's closed off, but ideally this is Henderson. So ideally, at some point, that will
Yes.
reopen fully. I don't know about through that apartment complex, but the hope is that it will, because the only thing that separates it in the apartment complex is gates. So hopefully we still own that street. I don't know.
And I know it's technically open, but it's like hardly anyone uses it. This north-south connection.
That's the central app I'm telling you about. It's phenomenal. It's-
Yeah,
Yeah, I use it
You
all the
could
time.
Tell it was.
Yeah.
It had it much better. Is there some discussion of like having that return as a major north-south?
No.
Because you have to kind of do.
No,
this
because it
part.
heads right into the park, so you're gonna have to keep going around. So no, the park will stop that. And this is the skate park right now. There's no way they're gonna destroy the skate park to do that.
But even this, it just seems
Yeah.
like a waste of like.
Yeah, it's a struggle. Let's put it that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And that apartment complex, that's another development that has gone up seemingly
Yeah.
overnight,
That's-
so.
yeah. Agreed.
Even use 60 there, so.
Yes, so yes, this is again, one of the more rapidly changing districts that, we're gonna see in the next couple of years or so. So that concludes it. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Omar.
I had an extremely minor comment on the slides
Yeah.
where it referenced the Metro Rapid stops. At Heart, we're starting the process to kind of phase out calling it Metro Rapid.
Okay.
It's not very rapid.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
So we call it the Route 400 now.
Okay.
So it's.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you
Yeah.
mentioned that because I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah,
At one point, they tried to float as BRT lane.
yeah. Yeah, it didn't work out.
Not very rapid.
They tried a lot of different names for it.
Yeah.
The same BRT.
Yeah.
They didn't get signal prioritization. They fought for
Yep.
it.
That's the other part of it too, yeah. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming. It's really interesting. I'm appreciative you brought this to this group. I think this is a real interesting way to talk about this development going forward, and thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all. Checker.
Oh, Karen.
This is just on the last topic we just had. A couple months ago, we talked about maybe getting a report on the feasibility of transit signal priority.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, Connor, not to put you on the spot, but do you know if that's coming in the queue or?
Yes, I have been in all the new business looking to.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, perfect.
Well, yes, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Angelo Rao of Kittleson Associates, and I'll be speaking with two hats. One as me, and two as my former position as the manager of traffic operations for the city of Lakeland from 2015 to 2021. It seems like 100 years ago. So here we are. I'll be talking about, and I know it's late in the day, so I'll commit to getting through this as quickly as I can. I'll be talking about the issue of red light running and the crash associated with that, and ways of trying to actually prevent the crash. So I'm not talking about red light running cameras, although it's part of the process, of course. I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking about preventing the crash. So that's what this will be about. And thanks for your interest and patience. So at Lakeland, we kind of quote unquote invented this new process of what we call the intersection collision avoidance safety program, or ICAS. It's kind of like the nickname that we called it. And we made it a connection to connected autonomous vehicles as well, which we used. And so we thought that it would be a good opportunity to put those together. Now, remember, that was like 2018, 2019. In the AI world, that's like ancient history. You can imagine 6 years ago, 7 years ago, oh my gosh, are you kidding me, AI? So anyway, it was our attempt to take us into the 21st century with traffic signals. And so I'll be talking about that from a very specific, narrow perspective. Now, let me start with my story. So I'm driving to work, southbound South Massachusetts, going to work, regular day. I live in Tampa and I commuted to Lakeland. Now that is not my actual personal Honda Fit. That was the best I could find on a movie to emulate me in my car. So I'm in a Honda Fit. I'm stopped at a red light and I noticed that I dropped something in my car. So I was in park. I went to pick up my, whatever it was, my little thing. And I got a polite beep behind me. And so I want you to count with me if you could. So polite beep. Usually you get a polite beep after about 1.5 seconds. People are kind of patient. They'll give you a chance. So count with me, 1.5 seconds. Oh gosh, okay. Being originally from Canada, we're very polite, so I didn't want to upset anybody, so I immediately reacted and started to the process going into drive. So 1.5 seconds, right? My reaction time to figure it out, another second, I get to the gear, brake, go to drive. So now we're at about 2.5, so probably 3.5 seconds by this point. And I finally actually acknowledge my own green light and I go. So now we're probably at about the stop bar at about 4.5 seconds. So imagine that, 4.5 seconds from the polite beep, right? So it's been green for 4.5 seconds. So unfortunately, this person in the truck, perpendicular to me, thought otherwise, thought that I was probably invading his or her space because it was a completely loaded, I'd say a beer truck. It's a completely loaded beer truck, probably driving 55 miles per hour and flew right by me. So the only reason, in my view, is why I'm here today, and that was probably what, 2019, is because I just got my brakes resurfaced the week before. Complete brand new brakes. And I was able to go from probably whatever you start at, like 16, 17 miles an hour on the start. So a dead stop and missed him or her by 1 meter or 3 feet. So to say the least, I was shooken up. I go to work, right? Kind of shooken up a little bit. I'm saying, I probably shouldn't be here right now. Something bigger is saying that I need to move on with my life and do something else. So I started to investigate. Well, wait a minute. I'm in this business. Surely there's something I can do about this. I mean, I can't be the only one that goes through this day in, day out. So I decided to investigate this, and turns out that, and I started investigating more, that this is more current data at the time, 2019. Those numbers that you see there, really very similar. I think it was more like about 1,000 people killed every year in the United States, and what was 135. By the way, that translates to approximately 10 injuries per week in Hillsborough County, approximately. I gotta tell you, I was almost one of them this morning, walking to this meeting. So I was on Morgan, walking southbound on Morgan at Cass, and I had my walk signal, and a motorist proceeded to go right through me. Luckily, it's slow speeds, everything's fine, hunky-dory. Telling you, this is pervasive, it's everywhere, it's a thing. So it's just the reality of the world. But we shouldn't put up with it. We should do something about it. There's no reason why we can't do something about this. So I'm going to show you a few video scenes. I promise you I'm going to go easy on you. These are issues that probably pale in comparison with what really goes on out there in the world. So I just thought I'd go easy on you guys because this is a civilized meeting and I don't want to get too crazy. So here's one. So we're way red, of course, beyond red. Yeah, so that goes on all the time. That Starsky and Hutch, you folks are probably too young to remember Starsky and Hutch. That is still gone all day long, everywhere. So there's one. Here's another interesting one. Lakeland again. Yeah, slower speeds, all red, tons of red. Red. Yeah. So what's interesting about this one, luckily nothing happened. As you can see, speeds are relatively low. Think of that pedestrian. He was a bicyclist a few seconds ago. He did the right thing. He dismounted, became a pedestrian. Now think of what a half a second, 1 second of any one of those vehicles, missing it by half a second, total chaos. I don't know what would have happened to that pedestrian. Who knows? Because vehicles, even at slower speeds, there's a tendency to veer and slide into other lanes. Anything could have happened. On top of that, to be a little bit crass about things, think of the congestion that would have been developed by this. It would have been a disaster. The entire intersection would shut down. I think the fancy term is non-recurring congestion that happens occasionally when things happen. That intersection would have shut down probably for hours. So think of all the negative adverse consequences of that alone. Forget about and how horrible any injuries that could have happened. So again, happens all the time.
Can we talk about the horrible design of the intersection too? That an intersection like that is even permitted to be And like, I know that's probably the norm of the engineering manuals, that this is a perfect,
Roundabout.
I mean.
Yes.
I mean, to put any human being in that experience of crossing what looks like, what, 10 lanes, 8 lanes? It's exactly like 301 in Bloomingdale, but, it's just, I know we're not gonna solve it, but.
It's funny to even have a bike lane on there. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
really.
Your point is, we'll
It's like they're doing it for show.
Well, it's just,
It's frustrating, I know,
Frustrating.
and this is one of like hundreds of thousands in the country, so this is like, you know, it's great. This other one is kind of, now this one's a little more graphic, so full warning, slightly more graphic. So just heads up. Yellow, red, 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 red. Yeah, so, I mean, that.
Well, he meant to go left.
Yeah, he might go left, exactly. Right. So it's interesting, again, that was a minor, but almost fender bender, not quite a fender bender. I can assure you that you don't want to get, most of these are T-bones at full
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah.
Like the beer truck that almost hit me.
This guy,
That's what typically happens.
that guy had to be terrified.
Yeah, right.
He has no protection.
Yeah, I have no idea what's on his mind right now. Happiness is not on the list, I can assure you. That's kind of stuff that I just wanted to give you a very slight flavor of what goes on all day long. I don't care which town you're in, every single town in the country, probably the world, all the time. So, not to get too dramatic, it was kind of a near-death experience, frankly. It was me, I felt it. I felt that, gosh, what if, just what if, as the engineer at the time, running the show there, what if I could have predicted that truck was gonna run that road? I don't know. Ask the question. I'm allowed, right? Can ask questions. So, and then, like the note says, and then delay that truck that almost hit me. What if I could do that? Could that be done? Coincidentally, like just freaky coincidence, that day, I had a meeting with one of my vendors, and they, Stokes, he looked at me and said, man, I've never seen you like this. You're all shook up. What's going on? Well, I explained the situation. And he said, I have something for you. I have a sensor that will detect and predict a red light runner. I said, you got to be blanking me. I didn't say, I said something else. I admit. And we talked about it, and frankly, I bought 4 that day on the spot. Just bought 4 sensors on the spot. And the whole notion is to prevent the red light run crash. Remember I said, this is not a punitive system. Not going there. I'm not going there. It predicts the red light run, it verifies it. It then extends the all red or delays the green. Very simple. 3 seconds. I kind of nicknamed it any old Seinfeld fans out there? Yeah, I lived for Seinfeld. And what wasn't it called? The Show About Nothing? Something like that,
Yeah.
The Show About Nothing. And I call this the safety measure about nothing, because you don't even know what happened. I mean, I will imagine, nobody knows the difference between a 90-second cycle length and a 93-second cycle length. Like if you're delayed an extra 3 seconds, you're not gonna notice that. You're probably on your phone anyway. You didn't even know it happened. So it is the safety feature about nothing. And that's what we should have called it, the nothing solution. And then of course, resume normal operations. Traffic engineers like me, I'm a recovering traffic engineer. We hate that because now I'll never go to normal operations. You're out of your mind. Well, I don't care. Let me be out of my mind. I'm alive. I'm standing at this podium today. So I'd rather be alive and out of my mind than dead and sane. So I mean, I'm gonna very, very quickly go through some of these slides. I mean, it's pretty obvious where I just talked.
Oh, I have a question, sorry, just so that I understand. So the person goes through and blows the red light. The other person luckily is held there, so they're delayed, and this guy or woman just continues on, they've blown the light. The thing that I wish, and I know we're in the state of Florida, and so it's much harder than in other places, but so the person that violated the law just continues on. Luckily, nobody's dead. But if there's no enforcement, like the censor then tickets them and like, isn't in a roundabout way with human nature, it's like we're rewarded. I mean, we're saving a life, which is the most important thing. But in the scheme, like, I would think the red light runner would want, like, be doing it again, not consciously, but like.
We had a delay here, so we would.
Did you read my slides? Because I have a slide. with that.
Okay, good.
I specifically about that, Jason. Yeah, thank you.
Because I
No,
know.
good intuition.
Yeah, like a
Not
weird.
kidding.
In fact, I'm gonna brush through this because that's an extremely important point, and I'm gonna spend I'd rather spend an extra minute on that than on this. This is just the toys that we're playing with in terms of making it work. This is common sense in terms of the electronics. We started with 4 intersections back in 2019, all on state roads, by the way, got permission. So, okay, how does it work? Just really quickly. And I'm gonna get to your point, Dave, it's a big deal. That's a very big deal. So basically, it's a sensor. That was 2019. I'm sure it's this tiny little microscopic thing now. Back then, it was like, looked like a PowerPoint projector. It kind of does, doesn't it? And basically, takes an image of the vehicle, does the calculation, sends a signal to the controller. The controller says, aha, I got one. So we're gonna extend basically just extend the all red. That's all it does. Nothing complicated, just 3-4 seconds, depending on what you need. And then let's count down to 3, in this case, 3 seconds, and then you get your green light. So David, your perpendicular driver would then get the green light after, in this case, a 3-second delay. So I do want to, this is kind of interesting because I even worry, like I'm pretty liberal in terms of how I just like to do stuff. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just rather take a shot at things, give it a try. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll try something else. That's just the way to do it, in my view. So I even worry, oh my gosh, am I going rogue? Am I going even beyond Angela rogue? Like, because I'm pretty rogue. This is like even beyond me rogue. So I checked. It's in the MUTCD, clearly, the Bible of traffic engineers, right? So there it is, all in this case, literally black and white. And duration of a red clearance interval may be extended. Sounds familiar? And then detection of a vehicle that is predicted to violate the red signal indication. So it's basically ICAS, just already done, already thought of. Now, the main reason why this was done is because I've never heard of, oh gosh, I'll have an example. Yeah, right here, the dilemma zone. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever heard that term, the dilemma zone? I find it weird as a traffic engineer because what it means is that you've got a stale green light, like you're facing green. You're maybe like, I don't know, a block or 2 away. You're not sure what to do. You have a dilemma. Do I stop? Do I run through it? What do I do? And so the engineers say, well, what we'll do is we'll speed you by the system and we'll extend the green for you, which is great. Thank you. Hey, I get an extended green light. Well, you don't know. It's not like you get a signal saying, oh, Mr. Rao, we just extended your green by 4 seconds. Please proceed calmly. No, I still don't know. It's still a dilemma for me personally. It may solve problems in the long run. I still submit that it doesn't really. That's just my opinion. I'm sure other engineers will think I'm wrong, but it's the opposite of a dilemma zone. We're not extending the green, we're delaying the green in this system. Even for bicycles, I heard a lot of folks talk about pedestrians and bicyclists in Lakeland. I didn't even know this, that there was an extension for bicycle lanes. That when the bicycle, because of slower speeds, it was obvious they're not going to make it. So that red gets extended for them to provide additional safety. You can do all kinds, and today, oh my gosh, I can only imagine what you can do today, 2025. So we had to go to Tallahassee. It's called the Traffic Engineering Research Lab to get permission to do this formally. And we did, we got permission from the FDOT central office. District 1 was fantastic to work with. I mean, they supported us from the very beginning. And disappointment for me, oh, there's your thing. David, this is your line. This is the David Hay line. So combination setting serves to prevent any learning curve. So most of you folks work in government, I think. Anyway, even if you don't, or you're in the private sector and you probably do a lot of local government jobs. Have you ever had a project that was 100% in unanimity with the public? I don't think it's ever happened ever in the history of humanity, right? Except for this. Everybody I talked to said, oh, you mean we don't do this? This is great. Best since sliced bread. Except, aren't you rewarding bad behavior? Exactly what David said just a few minutes ago. And it could be because people are smart. They figured things out, right? They could see what's going on in the world, and yes, I was running that risk. What we did at Lakeland, I'm not saying that anybody has to do what I'm about to say. What we chose to do is have the criteria be that we would only put in these sensors where I have red light running cameras already. I know I said at the beginning, this is not about punitive situations. I just needed it for two reasons. One was for video evidence of my data. So I had data over here and I had video proof here. Hey, I got you. So in terms of the safety perspective. And then also it was a way of actually preventing that rewarding bad behavior. You're going to get a citation. Sorry. Now, since then, and even slightly before that, law enforcement is working with engineers to put in either a white light or blue light. You may have noticed them under, you'll notice it now that I put the bug in your ear. These little red, blue or white lights underneath signal heads. And that goes on the nanosecond that the light goes red. So an officer now doesn't have to be on the near side of the intersection. They could be on the far side of the intersection and then do the law enforcement necessary. It's one of the most dangerous enforcement practices because they have to run a red light to chase the red light runner.
Or make a U-turn.
Or make a U-turn. It's a horrible thing, right? So that little tiny device has now helped them to be on the far side of the intersection. And now they don't have to chase through the intersection. They're already beyond the intersection. So that's pretty cool. So a great little invention. Absolutely, we don't want to reward bad behavior. No doubt about it. Having said that, I'd rather, if I had to pick, I'd rather reward bad behavior and kind of just suck it up and prevent it. Just being honest, it's just the way I see things. Lots of data. I'm going to run through these real quickly. Those dots, by the way, that's one vehicle running through these. That's just shows you that there's a lot going on. That was yellow. This is red, and then what I'll do now is talk really quickly about the beyond all red. Let's see. With this pie chart, you would say, Angela, get over yourself. What's the problem? 99.71% of motorists either drive through the red or the yellow. I mean, come on, get over yourself. And
Green or yellow?
I got, sorry, green, what did I, green or, yeah. Well, wouldn't that be, oh my gosh. Green or yellow, excuse me. So most folks, the vast majority of folks behave themselves. And, I admit, I've run red lights. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm sure I've done it. I've been driving, gosh, turning 68. I've been driving for like, I don't know, 50 years. So I must have run red lights in 50 years. So that's okay. It happens. That's why we have the all red phase, that little bit of a safety. So the bad news, this is out here, sorry. The bad news, that 0.29% adds up just in Livable Lakeland with 4 intersections, 48 beyond red runs every day. In 4 intersections, 4 little Lakeland, kind of like, so, that's, 10 to 15 a day per intersection every single day after the all red phase extinguishes. So that's kind of scary. And just some data associated with that. We were able to, we fortunately won a grant to expand the system. We won a $500,000 grant through the DOT to go from 4 to almost 30 intersections. Didn't quite hit 30 intersections. Again, almost all on state roads, which is where most of the unfortunate damage takes place. So it seems like I miss all the fun stuff. I have to do all the dirty work and miss all the fun stuff because just sometime last year, city, the DOT and several law enforcement agencies got together to do a 3 a.m. deliberate red light run. They shut down the intersection and at I think it's Commerce and US 98 and literally ran red lights. And so I thought that'd be kind of fun to legally do that, with cops around, no citations or anything, nice and safe. And I miss all the good stuff. So anyway, they did that and they wanted to test two things. One, that the protocol worked, and of course it did. More importantly, the green word. More importantly, remember I mentioned at the very beginning, the connected autonomous vehicles? So the second phase was to say with particularly motorists and more particularly pedestrians and bicyclists, could we send them a message saying that somebody's about to run a red light? And it worked. In 2019, I couldn't get it to work. The latency was just too long. There was too much of a delay. Now, systemically, the message is almost instant. And so the iPad that they were testing showed the red light running almost instantly. So it's kind of interesting from the perspective that you as a quote unquote outside user, a pedestrian, a bicyclist, even a motorist, will get a message that this is about to happen. Like me today, like for example, if I had it on my phone today, walking to this meeting, I would have been told somebody's going to run a red light right now.
But what if, I mean, I'm the kind of person that just doesn't, I don't have my phone on me all the time. Like, how would I get that message?
It would go on your phone or.
But my phone is in my purse. Like, I'm not, when I'm driving or walking or biking, I don't have my phone out. How would I get that message?
Well, I can't implant anything on you. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, but that's what I'm.
Yeah, well, the benefit is that what the issue is you're trying to, the odds are stacked up against us, see, right? You know that very night, right? The odds are stacked up against us. So anything you can do to chip away at the unsafe condition, I'm in. So if it means that you're not looking at your phone as best, which is fine, or bicyclists, whatever.
It's safest to do that.
It's probably even safer to do, but well, when you're sitting at a red light like I was,
Oh, okay.
you could conceivably be looking at your phone, waiting for your green, and you would get the message that if you're connected with the app, that someone's about to run a red light.
Would it go through the built-in? A lot of the newer vehicles have the built-in navigation.
Exactly. Yeah, well said, Ms. Boyd. Yes. Specifically now, in fact, the penetration rate of all of these types of vehicles is not quite exponential. It's at the tipping point of having what they call advanced driver assistance technology. And that's like, oh my gosh, it's so close to taking off. In fact, so much so that for the first time in my 45-year career, I've seen NHTSA reported an 8.2% reduction in fatalities for the first 6 months of 2025. I've never seen a negative sign in front of an 8 in terms of fatalities. I guarantee you that the vast majority of those lives that are saved is because of the vehicle. But the penetration rate's getting so high with these vehicles. Anyway, I know you got it.
Didn't they roll back in that stupid one big beautiful bill thing? Didn't they roll back the rules for the pre-collision crash? It's not gonna be a mandate on car manufacturers anymore, or hey, check your backseat for a kid. They rolled all that stuff back.
Yeah, you can use, again, you
Not
folks.
that car makers won't still do it.
Yeah,
It's no longer.
You folks are too young to remember the old Volvo commercials, the Volvo commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the Volvo, I mean, it was considered the quote unquote safest vehicle on the market. And they had ads that were obvious, making statements about that. And Volvo decided to do it take it upon themselves to have these safety features. So I'm thinking, maybe naively hopeful, that more and more vehicles more and more OEMs, original equipment manufacturers will start to put these features in. In fact, they are by their own mandate. I call it kind of like we're demandating.
I would think over time there's a way too, because a lot of the heads are LEDs now. There should be a way to outfit, so it could say, caution, there's someone coming, essentially, something like. If you are a pedestrian or a bicyclist coming up to the intersection, if you don't have your phone out, obviously, but you're on a bike. There could be something on the signal itself that pops up, especially if you already have something there. Or it could be another message that comes up that says, oh, hold up,
Absolutely.
fast car coming or something, or red light runner coming.
Jason?
How does this relate to the lead pedestrian intervals, like how they warn or holds the pedestrian up, holds traffic
Yeah.
up 4 ways? Is it very similar to that in that nature?
It's interesting you say that because we were one of the first, we installed 30 intersections in 2015 in Lakeland. And we noticed that pedestrian bicycle injuries plummeted almost like on Monday. Like it was crazy good. Like it was ridiculously good. More interestingly, we also found that vehicle injury rates dropped 40%. It seemed like that additional all red light phase, and really that's all it is, just extending the all red phase, actually calm people down. That's the only theory, that's all I got, because I couldn't explain how could just 3 more seconds of all red phase reduce vehicle injury rates by 40% for free. I didn't even do anything. I just pressed the button and we reduced crashes by 40, injury crashes by 40%. So it's very connected. It's very similar. It's basically all you're doing is extending the all red phase. And that's all LPI is. And that's all this is, just extending the all red phase. Is it annoying? Yeah, they're gonna wait 3 more seconds. I agree. Real hardcore engineers would say, oh, eventually you're gonna mess up the whole coordination of the system. And that's gonna be annoying. True, if that happens every time. Given that it's a smart system, it only happens when you need it. It doesn't happen at every cycle. So there isn't that accumulation. That's why this is hard, because it's smart. You run it when you need it, not all the time. So, but does that help? Yeah, sure. I know I'll get through this for you guys. Basically, what's going to happen next is that DOT will be obviously doing a lot of before and after crashes. COVID unfortunately put a bit of a stall on things for them. They couldn't proceed with this program, so they're back at it again with District 1. And so hopefully they'll be able to have a lot more data associated with it. I do want to acknowledge a few folks, Steve Davis from District 1, Teresa Tess, my successor at the City of Lakeland, a brilliant engineer, and then Dan Trustler with Vibe Engineering, also with District 1. And with that, I'll take any questions, comments. I know we didn't talk about money. I mean, we can talk about the cost of whatever you want to do or not, or leave, whatever. I would totally understand. It's been a long morning, so no hard feelings if there are any questions.
Well, I think we interrupted nicely, but any additional questions? I think this brought a lot of interesting ideas. You showed this to us at the TPO, and so I do appreciate this. This group tends to talk a little bit more, so I'm glad we stopped and asked questions along the way. And I look forward to seeing what happens going forward. But honestly, to Jason's question, I just think we should always do a 3 second. I know that would be a huge problem, but I just as a head cyclist advocate, I really do love the 3 second just wait and the walk allowance. I really wish more intersections would get rid of the button and just do an automatic walk.
I agree with that.
That's really what needs to happen
The
next.
crash where my daughter's car was totaled in a red light run, and she was fortunately only minorly injured, has an LPI, but because there was nobody crossing, it was not activated. And like that, those few seconds would have prevented the crash.
Absolutely, and I think that overall, people who hit buttons, it's going away as something that people think about doing. Yeah.
It's also something that children don't do a lot, particularly the adolescent children.
Yeah.
So if you have those at a school crossing where you absolutely should have them, they're not going to do it.
Yeah, agreed. So that's just another thing to add to your cap, how we further those in this.
I will say that most downtowns have automatic.
Yes.
That's
They do, but I'm talking about,
Like large-
Hillsborough in Florida.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
first intersection I always think about. And that one, you have to have a button. It
Yes.
kills
That
my-
is something that I've said to City of Tampa is those should be at school crossings as well. Any major school crossing should have the automatic.
Yeah.
Like if we've rolled it out downtown, we have it. We can do that everywhere else.
True.
And yes, it might slow you down by 3 seconds.
But I don't think, I mean, but as you said, those people are on their phones, they're not paying.
Or dropping things on their car and then being in the park. So at least they're,
Yeah.
that's.
Well, thank you again
Well,
so
thank you
much.
for your time.
Really look
Really
forward
appreciate
to hearing what happens next.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes because I have to go too. So I know Connor, you have some old business.
Yes, so regarding the letter to Hart and potentially the city of Tampa regarding the signal prioritization for buses. I do have a draft ready for leadership to review. I've just been out a lot with emergencies. So hopefully I will be bringing that letter to you next month.
Great.
But I also wanted to thank Lisa because we were prepared to cover the last meeting. And then lastly, or almost second to last, I have a field trip scheduled for next month. If anyone's interested, it's going to be the city of Tampa parking, like garden park. So I believe West Park is basically now turned into gardens.
It's at Morgan and like. They have, I want to say 80 plots, community garden plots. It's really cool. And now they should actually have some stuff in there. Actually, oh no, I think they start in the spring, but I guess January counts as spring. But it's, yeah, it is, but it is teeny tiny. You would never have an idea that they could put so much in there. It's a really cool, I was there with Kitty Wallace, one of the leads of, the Community Garden Coalition. It's a really neat space. And it's just a really nice Morgan and Whiting, right next to the Whiting parking, the mini parking garage, I like to call it. Yeah, it is right there at Morgan, and that's gonna have, that'll be the double protected bike lane soon, so it'll have even more protection. It's definitely worth seeing. When would that be?
January next month.
So during our meeting?
So the idea would be we'd have a little bit of a shorter meeting, to have a presentation, and that being the last presentation, and then we'll have here. But I wanted to mention it now so you're aware, and also just in case we run over time in the field trip.
Yeah, it's totally walkable from here. It's maybe a couple of blocks. Yes.
Just aside, useless fact, that garage was the location of where the Southern Transportation Center was supposed to be located. Years and years and years, sorry.
No, that is actually very interesting as we consider what to do with it next.
Two prongs, one on the north, one on the south, and then the Marion.
That makes sense.
I've worked in that garage for so long, working downtown, $35 to $65 a month. Now I don't know how much it is now.
And the last thing I have is we have our 2026 wall calendars. The beautiful staff is on the cover. So I'll put those at the entrance.
Great. Anyone else have anything? Jason?
Yes, we have a public meeting for Morgan Street. That is on February 18th. So now announcing early, we'll send flyers out and put it on the website. And it's at the Tampa Firefighter Museum, which if you haven't been there, it's a really neat museum to visit. A lot of history.
I heard that the first one went very well.
Yeah. Yep.
So really excited about it. Talking about Morgan Street, and I believe it's where I did have someone asked me the other day, where do those improvements stop?
Browering, and the limits are Browering, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the other limit. It's
Is it Palm?
No, it's not Palm. I'm sorry. Should know. I can't think of it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna add a little bug in your ear now that the 7th and Morgan needs to be a 4-way stop. It's just like hands down. It is. People are so used to that being a stop sign now. Because they had to close 7th down when they built that apartment complex, that people just run it. I mean, they're just speeding through. So if we actually want to make that a bikeway, a 4-way stop is required there.
All right.
Anything else? Okay, well, I'm doing my last Sunday ride of the year. This Sunday, I still don't have where we're going yet. I'm just so behind. But we start at Henry Nola if anyone's interested. If not, we'll also be doing more in January. And I hope everyone has a really restful holiday. Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate. We're in the middle of Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice. And yeah, Happy New Year. Most of all, I hope everyone gets a chance to rest and rejuvenate. And I'll see you all in 2026. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Here you go.
Harrison.